Start is, I met Clay about a year ago, I think it was last May, and I was freaking out because we were having another launch and our researchers didn't have enough compute. Twitter was alight with, we didn't have enough, and this team comes along. Jay Jackson, Luis is out here somewhere, and I found them online, truly, through LinkedIn, and said, do you have capacity? And these guys show up with 200 megawatts of capacity, which watching your presentation was really interesting, because for those of you who've been in the industry for a while, 200 megawatts is passé now, but 5 years ago, 5 megawatts would have been a crazy amount to have. And these people showed up with not only capacity, they showed up with an intelligent cluster design, they showed up understanding all of our needs, they showed up understanding our security requirements, all the things that Clay went into from a technical perspective, they showed up with. And that blew my mind. So I'm going to talk for a second about what it takes to do, but this is way better deserve a round of applause. I'm very serious. It has been so inspiring watching Clay and the team build OCI, so I'd love if you all gave them a round of applause for what they've done. It's incredible. Seriously. So when I think about kind of where we're at, we are in the stage of what I call industrializing. It's not just a build-to-suit data center in Northern Virginia anymore. It is hitting on every single lever and trying to maximize them at every moment, from power all the way through to silicon. And so that's where, when I think about the work that we've done together, same thing, NVIDIA has done incredible work, but Clay and the team have come to me also and said, would you like to do anything else? And when AMD and Lisa Su were saying, hey, we really want to push the next generation of AMD, we're not getting as much traction as we'd like, we went to Oracle and Oracle said, we will do anything to make this work with you. And we had a huge announcement last week about this, we're super excited. We got our Broadcom announcement, all of the new product integration that these folks are going to do to help us continue to hit on every single lever that we need to hit another 10x over the next, hopefully 2 years.
Okay, well, just so you know, I did not tell him to say those nice things about me. But that's what I would say even if I had told him to say those nice things about me. Okay, look, something I think that people want to understand is that you know better than anyone else. We've got these compute constraints, right? You've got capacity that can be used for training and optimizing new things. You've got capacity that can be used for developing new models, doing more research, and then you've got capacity that you need for actually serving your customers. How do you think about the needs you have to balance across those, and how does it change what we build?
Yeah, and even that's been a massive paradigm shift. I joined OpenAI in 2019, and that's when people were just hearing about what we call the scaling hypotheses, this idea that as you use more compute, you get better capable models. And so our strategy was always to hit at the front end of whatever the newest generation of GPUs was, at the biggest cluster that we could find, design the biggest cluster, and pre-train one of these models, which just means lots of synchronous workloads happening all at once. And then see if we continued on that line, that said model got better. And then we launched ChatGPT. And some people have heard this story now, but I still remember sitting in a conference room December of the year that it was launched, and the researchers said, no, don't worry about it, as I'm freaking about the amount of capacity that we have. Saying, it's just going to be a low-key research preview. We'll pull it down in 2 weeks. We just want to show the world this research that we've done. And that was our first big learning in this idea that we have to have a fungible, we have to have the ability to go from being able to run these large pre-training models to saying, actually we're launching Sora now, and for the next 3 weeks we need to be able to flex into that. And that wasn't a capability that we had internally. And that's where, again, all of the things that you were pointing out from multi-player networks, from a security perspective, which they're very different between these different workloads, we have to be able to build into that. I get asked all the time, how do you think about training versus inference? I'm telling you all, let's stop talking about training versus inference. We are in a new regime now where the models are ideally constantly running and are constantly going through sampling and training and getting better all of the time. And that matters because for business work use cases and for databases and other things, as we start feeding data back into the models, they're going to get better and better and better for each of these individual use cases. And that's where the extensibility of the platform becomes really important as well.
Okay, so you mentioned it earlier. We've been working together for a little over a year. It's great to know that the way that you thought you were calling Jay out for good, that you found him on LinkedIn. I'm like, Jay, it's kind of your job to contact him. We'll talk about that later. So thanks, Peter. Did you expect us to make this much progress together so quickly? Like, how does what we're doing compare to, I think, your expectations at the beginning?
I mean, that's truly why I said the round of applause. There is nobody like you all out in the market. And I hope everybody wins. I kind of think of this as an ecosystem view. And what you're helping us do is push kind of some of the more traditional players to really think from a customer-centric point first, and that flexibility that we're going to need around it. And so when we think about co-designing things, we think about the clusters that we're working on together. We think about the trade-offs that you have to make to be able to provide us more capacity, the multi-planar stuff. There's something called Zetascale 10. You all should look it up. There was a great press release about this. But I have been blown away, not just by your willingness to co-design things, co-engineer, but how everybody across the OCI stack understands these things. We joked about Jay, and I won't mention him again. But I mean, very seriously, down to people like Jay who understand these problems deeply from a technical perspective, which means that our cycle times drop. We don't have to do a contract for multiple weeks. We don't have to go engineering a hash multiple times. I don't even have to call you to escalate things very often. Like, your team just understands our problems and brings us the capacity that we need so that we can continue scaling, so that when Sora comes up or a new product comes up, we're ready to go, versus multi-month contracted, oh, this doesn't fit no CI, or whatever it is.
Okay, so you've talked a lot about the things that have gone very well. What are some of the hurdles that you feel like we had to overcome that people should understand?
Abilene came together in 11 months. A data center of that scale, because I worked on some other ones at a similar scale, took 4 years to plan. And so when we go through that, you deal with questions of, let's say, fungibility, where your finance team might say, and my comms team is going to kill me for this, but they might say, OpenAI is a startup. How can you possibly lean into them for this amount of investment? And the point is that the technology that you all have developed and the infrastructure that you've developed is so fungible that we want to use it, so that you can get your finance teams comfortable that somebody else can buy it. We're using the same stuff TikTok US is using. We're using the same stuff that I'm sure Milwaukee Tool is going to use, and that's pretty incredible in this space.
Okay, so you guys are expanding globally very quickly. I won't talk about the numbers, but I think in terms of just users, in terms of revenue growth, everything is, I've never seen a company grow like your company has grown. What is the most difficult thing you're dealing with as you manage that growth while also focusing on security and efficiency?
That's the $1 trillion question. So maybe I'll give one example here. There's a press release every week right now about a new Stargate. I think Stargate Argentina was announced last week. We had Stargate UAE, all these other things. And some of those difficulties are in the current policy environment. Let's talk bluntly about export controls and other things for chips. And there is always a question of, can we go serve here? Can we run capacity here? What are the requirements that both the government and our own security teams are going to have? And it's been really interesting working with you all, because Oracle has kind of become our one-stop shop for any country to go in and say, okay, you understand our internal security standards, you understand the policy requirements, just please go make this work. And we've seen this now across many different countries in a very rapidly evolving environment. It's a huge win for me that I don't have to think about that, and I can rely on you as we do expand 10x year over year at this point into those locales.
No, it's a great example. So look, Peter, I really appreciate the work that you and your team have done. Working with your team has been incredible. It wasn't just that we moved fast. I think that our pace and urgency is matched across both of our companies. Thank you for coming out here today and telling everybody your story, and I'm excited for what comes next. Thank you very much.